Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'll be starting my presentation today with the quote of the day: learning never exhausts the mind. The title of the article for today's critical appraisal is A Systematic Review of Leadership Styles, Work Engagement, and Organizational Support. I'll be presenting today's critical appraisal under kind supervision of my most respectable and honorable supervisor, Dr. Saira Afzal. We'll be using Prisma checklist for critical appraisal of the systematic review. Here is the Prisma checklist. Let's start with the title: A Systematic Review of Leadership Styles, Work Engagement, and Organizational Support. The title identifies the report as a systematic review. We'll be seeing the summary of the article, and side by side, by using the Prisma checklist, we'll be doing the critical appraisal. Abstract. Work engagement is one of the critical factors at an organization, so considering some factors such as leadership styles and organizational support is important. Lack of attention to these factors can lead to undesirable environments for workers. The purpose of this study is to conduct a systematic review based on these variables. Data for this research were gathered from databases of Web of Knowledge, PsycArticle, Scopus, PsycInfo, Web of Science, and Google Scholar. A total of 165 records were identified in databases. 15 records were discovered in other sources. 149 records remained after deleting duplicates. 117 of these records were examined. 52 registers excluded. 65 complete articles were chosen to be evaluated. And after 10 complete articles had been excluded, 55 studies ultimately remained for inclusion in the synthesis. Overall leadership styles, transformational leadership and transactional leadership and organizational support were found as two imperative organizational factors to access better outcomes at the workplace. So let's do the critical appraisal of the abstract by using the Prisma checklist. It's not structured, provides the background and objective, not comprehensive, does not specify eligibility criteria, does mention the names of databases and the data when each was last searched, not mentioned, does not specify the methods used to access the risk of bias, does not specify the methods used to present and synthesis results, does not give total number of included studies and participants, does not mention intervention synthesis methods, does not give results for main outcomes, does not give the limitations, does not provide a general interpretation of results and important implications, registration number not mentioned, conclusion given but not comprehensive. Introduction. Here in this first paragraph, the background of the intro is given. According to previous quantitative and qualitative studies that only focused more on outcomes of organization or workplace based on employees' performance and their presentation at work, in the current systematic review or qualitative research as a process for discovery, accurate styles of leadership, and support for the organization after making a deep researching and conducting quantitative and qualitative studies of relevant factors. Focus intensely on the role of leadership styles, specifically transformational leadership and transactional leadership, and organizational support on work engagement, and determined their interrelation as the main objective of the study. To catch up on this purpose, the researchers of the study applied a systematic review method as a research methodology to filling the gap of earlier studies and making a brilliant role of leadership from managers and leaders among employees, also showing the important role of organization support on employees' work engagement. The study describes the rationale for the review in the context of existing knowledge. Number 4, it does provide the explicit statement of the objective. Now the methods. Databases were systematically searched for eligibility studies and the data were derived from the databases Web of Knowledge, PsycArticle, Scopus, PsycInfo, Web of Science, and Google Scholar. The results of the search were obtained from English language journal articles published from 2009 to 2018 in peer-reviewed journals. For the initial search, the search terms were as follows: A, leadership; B, leadership style; C, work engagement; D, transformational leadership; E, transactional leadership; and F, organizational support. Each of the searches consisted of 2 of these keywords along with or and leadership or leadership styles or transformational leadership or transactional leadership and engagement and work engagement and organizational support. Inclusion criteria. These factors included English language, years of paper publication, more than 2009, papers that had been published in peer-reviewed journals and dealt with leadership styles, transformational and transactional, work engagement, organization support as the main aim of the study. Here they have given the Prisma flow chart. Prisma flow diagram is mentioned here. Now doing the critical appraisal. Number 5, it specify the inclusion criteria, does not specify exclusion criteria for the review, and how studies were grouped for the synthesis was not mentioned. Number 6, it specify all databases, registers not mentioned, websites, organizations, reference lists, and other sources searched or consulted to identify studies specify the data when each source was last searched or consulted. It present the full search strategies for all databases, registers, and websites, including any filters and limits used. Number 8, it does not specify the methods used to decide whether a study met the inclusion criteria of the review. How many reviewers screened each record were not clearly mentioned. It does not specify the methods used to collect data from reports, also not include how many reviewers collected data from each report or they worked independently, any process for obtaining or confirming data from study investigators not mentioned. 10th A, outcomes for which data were sought were not mentioned. 10th B, list of all other variables for which data were sought was not mentioned. Any assumptions made about any missing or unclear information was also not mentioned. Number 11, it doesn't specify the method used to assess the risk of bias in the included studies, including details of the tool used, but how many reviewers assessed each study not mentioned. It does not specify each outcome and the effect measures used in the synthesis or presentation of results. 13A, the study does not describe the processes used to decide which studies were eligible. 13B, the study also not describe any methods required to prepare the data for presentation or synthesis, such as handling of missing summary statistics or data conversions. 13C, any method used to tabulate or visually display results of individual studies and synthesis was not mentioned. 13D, any methods used to synthesize results and provide a rationale for the choice not mentioned. 13E, any method used to explore possible causes of heterogeneity among study results was not mentioned. 14th, does not describe any methods used to assess risk of bias due to missing results in a synthesis arising from reporting biases. Number 15th, any methods used to assess certainty or confidence in the body of evidence for an outcome was not mentioned. Now the results. Here the tables are being shown. The present study ultimately included a total of 55 articles. The articles that have been reviewed by the researcher were analyzed in quantitative and qualitative terms based on leadership styles, work engagement, and organizational support. According to the results of the systematic review, previous studies in different workplaces and countries, and the researchers who have conducted them specifically recommended transformation and transaction leadership. They also say that organizational support makes an effective contribution to performance, attitude, the organizational behavior of employees, and their engagement. These realities should be explained or introduced more comprehensively to managers, leaders, and the heads of various workplaces. The current study represents an attempt to recognize the meaningful role of transformation and transaction styles and their different and various segments of the work environment. The study also focuses on organizational support, which derives from the manager and workplace and improves and motivates employees' engagement at work. 16th A, the results of the search and selection process from the number of records identified in the search to the number of studies included in the review. A flow diagram is not present. 16B, cite studies that appear to meet the inclusion criteria, which were excluded and why they were excluded not mentioned. 17, cite for each included study and its characteristics. 18, assessment of risk of bias for each included study not mentioned. 19, all outcomes were present for each study. A, summary characteristics for each group were not present, and B, and effect estimate and Sprecian were not also present. Use of structured tables were present. 20th A, for each synthesis, the study briefly does not summarize the characteristic and risk of bias among contributing studies not. They do not describe this. And 20th B, results of all statistical synthesis conducted were not mentioned. 20th C, results of all investigations of possible causes of heterogeneity among study results not mentioned. 20th D, results of all sensitivity analysis conducted to assess the robustness of the synthesized results not mentioned. 21, assessment of risk of bias due to missing results arising from reporting biases for each synthesis assessed not mentioned. 22, assessment of certainty or confidence in the body of evidence for each outcome assessed was not mentioned. Now the discussion. Based on the important role of leadership and purpose of present studies, some investigations focused on the leadership between leadership and engagement. So in countries discussed them comprehensively. Uh, here some of the studies are given, and they have discussed the comparison between the different studies as well and their outcomes. 23rd A, the study provides a general interpretation of the results in the context of other evidence. 23rd B, the study does not discuss its limitations of the evidence included in the review. 23rd C, it does not discuss the limitations of the review. 23rd D, it does not discuss implications of the results for practice, policy, and future research. Conclusion. Meanwhile, the framework used in this systematic review for work engagement, organizational support, and leadership styles may be valuable not only for documenting the lessons of prior studies, but also for developing and evaluating these practices and their impact on different types of workplace and communities. Overall, these guidelines could help address the low level of engagement amongst employees and help achieve a high level of performance and improved outcomes. Recognizing the different factors and improve and support the presence and engagement of employees at the workplace can be of great academic and practical value. However, more specific investigations are needed to focus on these issues. Some have been done in the past, while others might wait in the future. The overall point of this systematic review is focused on the important role of work engagement amongst employees, a factor that is influenced and in some cases improved by transformational leadership, transactional leadership, and organizational support. Other information. 24th, a study does not provide registration information from the review. 24th C does not describe and explain any amendments to information provided at registration or in the protocol. 25th, it does not describe the source of financial or non-financial support for the review. 26th, the study does not declare any competing interest of review authors. 27 does not report which of the following are publicly available and where they can be found. Template data collection forms, data extracted from which include studies, data used for all the analysis, analytic code, any other materials used in the review not mentioned. Now, we'll be having a summary of the critical appraisal by seeing the strength, limitations, and way forward. The strengths of the study. Title is precise and mentions the study design. Rationale of the study is mentioned. Inclusion criteria is mentioned. Mentions way forward. Discuss implications of the result for practice, policy, and future research. It specify all databases, websites, organizations, reference lists, and other sources searched or consulted to identify studies. The study provides a general interpretation of the result in the context of other evidence. Limitation of the study mentioned in the conclusion. Now the limitations. A clear statement for objective is not given in the abstract. Exclusion criteria is not mentioned. Only the observational studies were included in the review that questions the generalizability of the results. Missing data is not mentioned. Methods to handle the missing data not mentioned. It does not specify the methods used to collect data from reports, also not include how many reviewers collected data from each report or they worked independently. It does not specify the methods used to assess the risk of bias in the included studies. Ethical approval from any board is not mentioned. Results of all statistical synthesis conducted were not mentioned. Results of all investigations of possible cause of heterogeneity among study results not mentioned. Assessment of risk of bias due to missing results not mentioned. Assessment of certainty or confidence outcome were not mentioned. Conflict of interest not mentioned. Way forward. This study discussed implications of the results for practice, policy, and future research. The framework used in this systematic review for work engagement, organizational support, and leadership styles may be valuable not only for documenting the lessons of prior studies, but also for developing and evaluating these practical and their impact on different types of workplace and communities. Overall, these guidance could help address the low level of engagement amongst employees and help achieve a high level of performance and improve outcomes. However, more specific investigations are needed to focus on these issues. Some have been done in the past, while others might wait in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention today. Here is the channel, Community Medicine. Kindly please like and subscribe all the videos.